सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. So we are at the introduction part of Atriya Upanishad, and in my book it's 12. I think in your book it's 15, page 15, and we are going to start with the paragraph unfortunately. Did everybody get it? So just to have a context, he was just talking about, remember that how these Upanishads have a very interesting way to present the stuff. We went to the whole thing. To define truth is to defile truth. So how do they manage? So they came up with the Sanskrit language and all that. Remember all those things that we did? And then he scientifically proved that the language has a lot of limitation. Any language in the world. It can only describe a vastu, guna, kriya, and sambandh. All those things that we did. It can describe a substance, properties, or activity, or the relationship. And beyond that, it has. And then he talked about that how these you have to sit at the feet of the teacher, like all these self-realized masters and Chinmayananji and all the other people. And then what do we need besides the language? He gave a lot of adjectives: faith, devotion, earnestness, sincerity, goodwill. All these things combined with that Sanskrit language will give you just indication. वो भी definition नहीं बता सकते. Imagine if Bhagwan is infinite, how can you define infinity? Even science cannot define infinity. They just make that symbol and chutti, Nobody knows. So that's what it is. Anyway, so that's where we were. And the last paragraph was, hence the need for a seeker to be at the feet of the sympathetic master who lives the perfection not only in his mouth but at every moment of his breath. So he learns from his master from every angle. So with all these great sages and saints, that's why I love to read their biography also, because you learn a lot from their biography. Some of them, they have gone through difficulties and all that, and then you say, okay. And Chinmayananji used to say this to people. He said, if I can do it, you can do it too. I know it sounds difficult for us, but he actually used to say that. Okay. So that's where we were. So we'll read from the next paragraph.
I can read if you would like. You must be tired of talking.
Good, great. Prasiji, go ahead.
Right.
So the way we do it is you read one paragraph and then we stop and like
we
that.
Discuss.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so unfortunately, we today find this tradition ripped open and defiled even in the sacred hermitages of modern ashramas that trade behind the sacred name of our immortal culture. Such black marketeers in religion do hasten the decadence of Hinduism rather than help to revive and bring about the much-needed renaissance in India. Sure enough, when the rising tide of Renaissance Hinduism reaches them, only a miracle can save their institution and their propped up and bloated grace and glory.
So now he's talking about all those people who are fake sadhus and do all these ashrams which do all kinds of, in the name of religion, they luto people, they do all kind of dhongis जितने भी इंडिया में हैं. And I know जितने अच्छे लोग हैं उतने ढोंगी भी हैं. We know that. शायद ज़्यादा ही होंगे. That's why, it's like my mom, I still remember somebody, some dhongi baba, he cheated her. कुछ उसको उल्टा सीधा करके पैसे वैसे ले लिए और फिर then he said, अच्छा तुम अपने ना पति को मत बताना. I still remember this, my mom telling me. And he said, moment he said that, I knew he was a ढोंगी. तो तब तक उसको पैसे वैसे दे दिया था. उसके बाद तो मेरी माँ इतनी डर गई. She was like, नहीं सारे ऐसे ही होते हैं. Yeah, well, she didn't want to go near anyone. It's like you have one accident and then you don't want to drive the car. But you can't do that.
It's like a mental trauma.
Yeah, mental trauma. And
like Yeah.
So these people do so much harm. So he's just telling you that in the sacred name, the immortal, all those things, bad things. So we don't need to discuss. Everybody knows about it. But the one thing he said, that last paragraph has some hope. When the rising tide of Renaissance Hinduism reaches them, only a miracle can save them. Because end में वो उनका भांडा फूटता ही है. Some of them वो जेल भी पहुंच गए हैं and all that, doing all kind of bad stuff. You know, like धर्म की विजय होती है. But we should not leave our faith. You know, and just because there are few bad guys, we should not say कि सारे ही ऐसे हैं. You know, and sometimes they start criticizing good people too. उनकी कोई छोटी सी चीज़ लेके they will start harassing them. अच्छा, उसने अगर एक गलती की है तो 99 अच्छा भी किया है. You know, the ulta bhi hota hai, the 99 bad, and then it's like you can say. But, you know, anyway, I don't want to get into that discussion, but everybody knows.
So should I read the next
Yes,
portion?
yes.
Okay. Our textbook, Athriya Upanishad, belongs to the Brahmana portion of the Rig Veda. It is constituted of 6 sections, and therefore Shankara calls it Atma Shatka. The author of the Athriya Upanishad is definitely known, but as a matter of fact, the Upanishads are without the signature of their authors. In rare instances, however, due to internal evidence, we get an inkling of who gave a particular Upanishad for the first time to the world of seekers. Thus, Yajnavalkya of Brihad Aranyaka, Lord Death of Kathopanishad, Bhagwan Pipalada of Prashna Upanishad are all exceptional cases where we happen to know at least what was the name of the Guru Rishi.
So they are just mentioning that we know that we have studied earlier, there were, वैसे तो पता नहीं 1000 होंगे, लेकिन the known Upanishads are about 300, 298 something, and some are being discovered. 108 are well known, and out of them 11 are the most important ones where Shankaracharya ji commented on it. That's why we can understand them better. And he was just saying that most of them authors are not even known. They didn't care about, you know, like these days there is so much. If you go in the scientific world, you can, you know, Prachi and Bharat and all, they know कितना सब लोग लड़ते आपस में to have the authorship, first and second, and you know, जो भी PhDs है यहाँ पर उनको मालूम है क्या क्या होता है. वैसा वहाँ पर कुछ भी नहीं था. जो भी ज्ञान था वो लोग फ्री में बांटते थे. They didn't care at all about their name. So that's why he's saying that some of the Upanishad we don't even know कौन है क्या है, you know. But few of them, luckily, we do know who are the people because their stories are given. Athriya happened to be one of them. And then he's going to explain who was Aithriya, who did this Upanishad and all that, and why this is important and all he will say. And then Brihad Aranya Upanishad mein Yajnavalk was a character, and you know, in a historical character. And then Kathopanishad, which we have done in our class, we know that it was Nachiketa who talked to Lord Death. Lord Death, हम लोग को वैसे नहीं मालूम कौन है, मगर everybody meets Lord Death. That's one person. You may meet your friend or not meet, or you may get married or not get married, but if you are born, you will meet Lord Death. So he's there. Okay. And Prashna Upanishad mein Pipalada, now we have not done that. So those are exceptions, and that the Guru Rishi we knew. So that's what he's talking about. Padhiye.
So self-effacement is the secret of inspiration. A genius at work is he who has established a perfect identity of his own mind and intellect with the work in hand. The best can come out of an orator or a painter or a sculptor or a musician or a writer only when he forgets himself and gets lost in the work in hand.
So this word self-effacement, that I looked up in the dictionary, and it says humbly keeping oneself in the background. That's what self-effacement means. You know, अपनी glory आगे आगे करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. That's what they are saying, that he who has established a perfect identity with his own mind and intellect with work in, and he's merged with that Brahman, basically. That's what he's trying to say. So then, and then he gave, okay, how do I translate that in the worldly thing? This is not possible, blah, 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 and all that. I said, look, actually, जो actual artist होते हैं ना, they don't care कि कोई है सामने या नहीं है, कोई भी नहीं होएगा तो भी वो वैसे ही गाएंगे और 1000 लोग होएगा तो भी आंख बंद करके वैसे ही गाएंगे. एंड देन वी सॉ दैट जितने भी वो आर्टिस्ट और पेंटर्स हैं वो बेचारे भूखे मरे, सम ऑफ देम, नोबडी कैन केयर. आफ्टर दे लेफ्ट तब उनकी बिक रही है मिलियंस में. दिस इज एविडेंट. लेकिन जो उन्होंने पेंटिंग बनाई थी, they forgot themselves. That is their own meditation. That is their sadhana, that they merge themselves. That whoever has some kind of passion, they know that you will do that work. Somebody gives you money or not, somebody is watching or not, you'll still do it. So when somebody is in that mode, sorry?
I was going to say, is that God's glory in that way?
Of course it is. It is like God's talent. God's talent in you, of course.
God's talent, because you can ask or request or humbly ask for the, give me that grace so I can pursue further to your, to the goal that I'm having. But this is indirectly giving him, because otherwise the work cannot be done, anybody's work. But
I'm not getting your question. What is your question? Why work?
My question is, we ask for glory. My question is, he's giving to them his grace.
See, this is what we are trying to say over here. When somebody says कि वो काम में इतना खो जाता है कि उसको कुछ ध्यान नहीं रहता क्या हो रहा है. It's like a form of meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be always like, oh, you have to sit in crossed leg and close your eyes. That is also kind of, they, like in the East, they have Thailand and all, they have walking meditation. That, you're walking and you're kind of hearing the sounds and all, and then you forget all your other stuff and you merge in that. That's the point they are trying to say, that they are talking about the highest level of the people who merge with Brahman. Then everything they do will be glorious. But he's just translating that into the worldly things, that people who are artists and all that, they also don't care about the worldly glory. They just do their things because they feel so happy, they merge with their work. That's what their point he's trying to say.
And I can add a little bit.
Yeah,
like
go ahead,
in modern
Prachi.
science, in the science of positive psychology, they have worked a lot on like what makes people happy. So one of the models, which was like, how can you get into flow? Flow is that state when you lose time of space and place and time, and you are so immersed in the work you're doing. So like singing, gardening, just being in nature, those are the activities of flow. And here it's mentioned in the commentary, a genius at work is he who has established a perfect identity of his own mind and intellect with the work in hand. So, once you know that this is your passion and you immerse yourself into work, obviously the grace is falling at that time because that's how you're connecting and you're able to go down. Yeah.
Grace is all the time there. Yes.
Yeah.
But
just because you're asking for grace, but you haven't prepared your mind and intellect to do the work, then that would not happen properly.
See,
that's what I'm saying.
This particular verse, I can take you back to there was a verse 30 of chapter 3. So you can write that down, verse 30, and go and visit that verse that Bhagwan said how to do karma yoga. It is like a summary of karma yoga. He said, don't think about the past, don't think about the future. See, nobody's saying that don't plan, so don't misunderstand that. That means that a planning stage is over.
Yeah.
When I'm working, my 100% attention has to be on my work, then my work will be very glorious.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, but at that moment, you are not worrying about somebody's going to appreciate my work or not.
Right.
Will it be good or not? I'm not going to worry about my result. Result तो मैंने अर्पण कर दिया भगवान को. My job, that's why he said that's what karma yoga means, that you immerse yourself in your work and don't worry about the result. So this
And that's
is
sort
what,
of a meditation.
yes, and they are saying that the self effacement is you have no your personal thing in there.
Right, right.
That's what it means. So these
Yeah.
people who did the Upanishads and all that, they didn't care about anything. They just having a conversation, and they don't
Yes.
care about their own glory. So if you got that much out, that's good. But
Yeah.
it is tied up with many things that we have learned in Bhagavad Gita also. So that verse 30 of chapter 3, whoever wants to go back to it later and see, you will see the connection 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Similarly, the masters, having transcended their egocentric existence, merged perfectly in the Supreme when they murmured their voiceless ecstasy through their broken, fumbled words from the peak of their realized and lived perfections. You and I, belonging to the disciple class, can but receive a whiff of the ethereal joy through these words. When the master gets awakened to the consciousness of the body and mind, he dares not claim his truth declarations as his own, for he has to, with his mind and intellect, redigest his own words, as it were, to enjoy intellectually when he lived what he lived intuitively.
Okay, so there is I know he has long sentences, might be confusing.
very, very long
So this
sentences.
is what he's trying to say. Firstly, we know that these masters have transcended their ego, right? And they are merged with Bhagwan. And they are in this voiceless ecstasy, okay? It's like in the world also. If somebody eats some food and feeling so happy, and you ask them, what are you feeling? They may not be able to explain to you. Even if you ask somebody, oh, you love somebody, what describe that love? You cannot, right? You feeling that inside, but you can't express in the world. The same way these people are in their ecstasy. And then when they do come out from that ecstasy, from that highest peak, when they have experienced that, and now they come and they have to describe it to the world, or they're going to mumble, fumble, say something. And we saw in our last Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, remember that song of oh, wow, something like that. He's like, that aha moment he had, and he doesn't know what to say, so he just singing people, ah, karte jate hain. Say, what are they doing? But they are having a good time, and we may not understand what they are doing. Same way here, that they are telling that highest thing they are bringing down in their own words, and it may not be perfect way of saying. People will say different things. And I remember that I think it was Nikhilanandji who gave a good worldly example. He's saying all of us experience deep sleep. Everybody's experience is the same. In deep sleep I'm talking about, not like, but when you come out of that deep sleep, I say, now describe your deep sleep, everybody will say something else. Experience is the same, but they cannot describe it because it's like a very difficult thing to describe. Same way, all these Upanishads might say different things, approach it differently, use different words. It may not be perfect what they are saying, but their experience is all the same. You get the picture? That's what he's trying to say. That he gets awakened to that consciousness of the body and mind. And then one important thing. Dare not claim his own truth. मेरा नहीं है इसमें कुछ. I have just experienced that oneness. And that most of the people who are high achievers, that, if you really sit next to them, they're very humble people. They will say, like, some of the scientists will say, the more I learn, I feel like I know nothing. It's like Mahasagar, you keep getting more stuff. So they are redigesting their own words and just trying to intellectually enjoy what they have lived intuitively, and they're trying to help other people. So all these things, if we understand, then we will know what they're trying to say in Upanishad. So if you do find some inconsistency in Upanishad, or sometimes contradictory statements, it's not that real contradiction. They are just expressing it because they are trying to say things so that you understand it. That's all it is. Remember I told you that one sentence that somebody said that जब दो विपरीत चीजें साथ में पकड़ में आएगी तभी उपनिषद समझ में आएगा. You gotta have open
I'm
mind.
wondering,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I'm wondering if this is like what he's explaining in the state of samadhi, that they've sort of visualized, like they're seeing it
Yes, it's
intuitively, but when they come back to the body and mind awareness, then they are saying things so they can enjoy it intellectually.
yes, intellectually and also help other people, and and then some people,
Understand.
everybody has a limitation of their language. And among the self-realized saints, you have a tremendous variety. You have somebody who never went to school, but they can still say amazing things. Others become silent, others talk a lot. Like Chinmayananji talked a lot. He was a great orator, but his own guru was, he just stayed at one place, never went anywhere. Chinmayananji went all over the world. And usually even Vivekanandaji's guru didn't get out of that. He was a pujari, and he was a Kali Bhakt, but he was self-realized, and he kind of got Vivekanandaji ready to go to the outside world. And Prabhupada is the same way. His guru is the one who told him to come here. इनके चेले सब बताते हैं कि उनको तो आना ही नहीं चाहते थे, वो तो रोए, बोले कहाँ मेरे को भेज दिया यहाँ पे. He said when he reached that New York, he said कौन से hell में मुझे भेजा है बाबा. And then he said no, कृष्ण भगवान मेरा सब कुछ करेंगे. So he completely surrendered कि मेरे को कुछ नहीं आता है, मेरे को कुछ नहीं मालूम, I am nobody, please guide me, how do I spread your name. And अभी देखो, I mean, Prachi came with us to this temple over here. There are people from all over the world sit there and they are in ecstasy with Lord Krishna. You see, sometimes you wonder, hum log to, we were grown with it, but these people have never heard of Krishna, and now they feel such a strong connection with him. It's just mind-boggling. You see it in reality that you see it. Some people got connected a few years ago, some 10 years ago, but their bond is so strong, nothing can shake. That's how it is. So this is what the whole picture is over here.
Yet, luckily for us, there is a beautiful story through tradition which gives us some idea of the identity of the master behind this wonder scripture.
So he's going to explain who this Atriya is. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So tradition attributes the Atriya Brahmana to a seer called Mahidasa. Is it Mahidasa or
Mahidas? Yeah, Mahidas.
Mahidasa, who was the son of a Brahmana named Vishala and mother Itara. When the boy grew up to the age of 5, one day when his father was sitting near the home kunda as a yajmana, the boy wanted to go and sit on the lap of his father. And as the boy was his son through the other, Itara wife, the boy was not allowed this privilege. The dejected child, sobbing, came to his mother and reported the sad incident in his melodious, blabbering language. The motherly heart of Itara burned with anger and smoldered at the thought that it was her weakness that has brought this insult upon her innocent child. She fell on the ground and embraced her Ishtadeva, Mother Earth.
So here, we'll stop here for a minute. We have a few things I wanted to say. So when they're talking about Atriya Brahmana, you know that they're talking about the Brahmana portion. Remember, there is a mantra portion, Brahmana portion, and then Aranyaka portion in the Vedas they were talked about. So that first Atriya Brahmana means they're talking about that part of Veda. So there is a seer called Mahidas, and he was a son of a Brahman. That Brahman they're talking about is different. Brahman jati ka tha wo. So the first Brahman is referring to the Vedas, and the second one is that the spelling is the same, but that's what it is. And so Vishala एक करके विशाला करके एक था, उसका बेटा महिदास था. So mother थी Itra. Itra is like somebody else. Dusra. That's the some other, because she was of a Potter community, you know. So it is like a same जाति की नहीं थी वो. She was a Potter community की थी, तो उसको क्या बोलते हैं, निक नेम दिया गया था इत्र. इत्र means somebody else. इत्र का पुत्र ऐत्रेय. You get that? That's how it got it. So, and then obviously, this story is so similar to Dhruv's story. Isa, sabhi ko pata hoga Dhruv ki story, because Dhruv ki mother was like a very simple woman, and the other, you know, uska jo sautela bhai tha, uski maa badi tej tarrar thi, and then she didn't want him to Dhruv sit on the lap, same thing. He's trying to sit on the lap, and they were not letting him. And the mother felt so hurt. Imagine, 4 or 5-year-old child, and he's so dejected. And so mother felt so sad. And because she was from the Potter community, uski ishta devta was Dharti Ma. Because wahin se wo log mitti se banate hain na pot. So symbolic everything is. So she fell on the ground crying and telling Mother Earth, ye kya ho gaya? Please help me. So Mother Earth ने मतलब ये उसको वरदान दे दिया कि भाई तेरा बेटा ग्रेट ऋषि बनेगा, जो भी है, लाइक a स्टोरी फॉर्म में, कि उसकी plight को सुन लिया, and she gave a ज्ञान to her son. That's the whole story.
Okay, so Mother Earth manifested herself to bless her devotee, and at the request of Itra, the spirit of Hinduism initiated Mahidas, the name is servant of the earth, into the great wisdom, the secret of our immortal culture. The boy grew to be perfect and came to declare to the world in his own language, the language of the low and discarded, the language of the worker, of the slave, of the common man, the infinite theme of perfection, and how man can come to experience his godhood in himself, which we know is the vital core of our culture.
So he's saying he's saying that how that his name was Mahidas, and see the name. Mahi means earth, Das means servant of the earth. A lot of symbolism is there. And then so because he was the son of this lady who was from the Potter community, he knew the other side of the society too. So like when, I can compare this to Chinmayananji when he came. At one time, it was kind of said, oh, Upanishads and all that only for the Brahmin class and this and that. And when he learned, he said, nothing doing. This knowledge should be for everybody. Everybody can benefit at their own level. So that's why they started Bal Vihar also. If from kindergarten you introduce, they're not going to talk about Upanishads in kindergarten. They do ABCD, but they do A for aspiration, B for brotherhood, like that they teach them. So anyway, C for cleanliness. But what they're trying to say that this Upanishad is so important because where it's come, he had a father, Brahman tha, so he had all these sattvic quality. Mother was Itra, Potter community. He got the combination of both and he got self-realized. So now he can speak the language. Like बोलते हैं ना कि slum language, जाके उनको भी सिखाओ क्या है ये. This is the beauty of this Upanishad, that it in our own common language we can try to understand. Yeah, Meena ji has something to say.
No, I was just going to say, thinking of Vyasaji. He was a
Yes, exactly. And he mentioned Vyasji had the same exact thing. Fisherwoman was a mother, and it was purposely done. And then now that you're mentioning that, I want to bring, maybe we didn't think about it, but Ravan's father was a Brahmin. Yes. Everybody knew that, right? He was a rishi. He was a great rishi.
Yes.
So it seems, because there was एक आया था, किसी ने देखा था, रावण उसका नाम था, एक सीरियल जैसा आया था, तो about रावण के पर्सपेक्टिव से स्टोरी बताई थी. It seems that जो रावण का जो नाना था ना, उसने ये कॉन्स्पिरेसी की थी कि भाई एक ऐसा बच्चा होना चाहिए जिसमें दोनों गुण हो, और वही जो है ना हमको बचा सकता है. हमारे क्या बोलते हैं, ये सारे राक्षस तो तामसिक हैं सारे, ये तो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, ये हमेशा पिटते ही हैं, समझो. सो कोई ऐसा लेके आओ जो दोनों, जिसमें राक्षस तो है ही, तो वो राक्षस के लिए सिंपैथी होगी उसकी, उसमें ना देवी गुण भी होना चाहिए. तो उसने ना अपने बेटी को भेजा कि उससे जा उस ऋषि के पास और उसको बोल मैं तेरे से शादी करना चाहती हूँ. So she went, and then the rishi obliged her. He married her. And then Ravan was born and other kids were born. So it seems that in the beginning, the father had an influence on Ravan. So he learned all the Vedas. Remember, we have learned that he has learned all the Vedas,
Yes,
everything.
yes.
हाँ, he knew
He is
everything.
knowledgeable.
उसको एकदम परफेक्ट बना दिया. इसको अब गड़बड़ लगने लगा कि ये नाना घबरा गया. बोला बाप रे, मेरा तो सारा प्लान ही फेल हो जाएगा. ये अगर रावण अच्छा बन गया तो मेरा क्या होगा? So then he pulled him out and he took him to his place. And he started filling him with that's why he turned. Okay? पूरा रावण का भी इतना दोष नहीं है जितने इन्हें कॉन्स्पिरेसी किया था इन लोगों ने उसको ये करने के लिए. So that is the story. So when the two mixed thing happen, it can go either way. But in this case, obviously, that it's what you said is right. And even the Ved Vyas ka bhi wohi tha. They wanted to bring certain qualities from both because that's what the world can understand. And that's why they said Ved Vyas ji also could deliver so many things that we can understand. If you're only goody stuff, then we will also get confused. We won't understand that language. But we need something mixture, to understand. Very good point, yeah.
The above story should elicit more sympathy from our present generation, as it is evidently clear that Itra's son, Aitareya, was not a Brahmana by birth, and that his name was Mahidasa, earth slave, the son of the soil. Again, it is evident that Itra's Ishtadevata was Mother Earth. Can it be that she belonged to the Potter community? Anyway, that she was not a Brahmin is clear from the word Itr, means the other.
Swamiji is just explaining because, sometimes they say minimum stuff and you have to draw things out of it. And remember, I told you that when Swamiji came and was doing all these Upanishad, he had a lot of opposition. There were a lot of foreign people who were trying to study Vedanta and they will make all kind of comments and all that. So he's just explaining that because her name was Itra and she was his name was Mahidasa. So all these things are implied now. That, that's what he's trying to explain. Yeah.
So in this story, you and I need not read the social injustice of that period, as we have no other evidence to prove similar injustice, although in our present period of Hindu decadence, we are finding a million such instances. It would be healthy for us to understand that in the mysticism of the story lies concealed a more profitable truth. A Brahmana seed, sattvic to the core, when reinforced with the perseverance and industry of an artisan who is ready to sweat and toil to eke out even a little comfort and happiness, is a fit instrument to walk diligently up the mighty path of knowledge to the eternal sunlit peaks of realization as explained in Vedanta and perfect Godhood. Again, however low-born one may be, and according to Sanatan Dharma, everybody is born a Shudra by dint of self-perseverance and daring courage in seeking. One can raise oneself culturally to the eminence of the perfection which is pointed out in the Upanishad and which is gained by a true Brahmana, one who has realized Brahman.
Yeah. So a lot of things are there in this. We know that real meaning of Brahman is the one who has realized Brahman. So when we say बाकी सब शूडो ब्राह्मण्स जाति ब्राह्मण है मगर कर्म जो है ना शूद्रा जैसे और उल्टा भी होता है. You can be, because we saw, I don't want to go back too much, but we saw in chapter 4, Bhagwan said that this is guna and karma is the varna vyavastha, not by birth. But unfortunately, even in those days, it is very easy to fall into that trap that, hey, somebody born as a Brahmana is Brahman. And anyway, Swamiji is just telling you that so some people can get stuck at the social injustice over it. Why this, why that, why did this happen? So he's saying, no other thing is there in the Vedas about all this. So let's not go, because Vedas and all, they talk about the core thing of what the universe is, who God is and all. They are not getting into the social injustice. But he's just telling us, when it comes to social injustice, you can find hundreds of things in this world right now. Fine. That's one point. But what it is trying to say that we already discussed in detail, that how the Brahmana seed is there, sattvic, but it is reinforced with what kind of qualities? Preservance and in industry of artisan. If you remember, when we were doing chapter 10 and in Bhagavad Gita, and some, maybe it was earlier also chapter, when it talked about some the asuras and all that, it was Nikhilanandji who said that asuras also have some good qualities. अरे असुरा के पास कौन सी good quality है? They are very strong. And किसी चीज के पीछे पड़ जाएंगे ना, तो उसको लेके ही छोड़ेंगे. राइट, जितने भी दुष्ट लोग होते हैं उनमें भी बहुत एनर्जी होती है भाई, कम नहीं होती है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे भगवान ने बोला कि अगर समुद्र मंथन करना है तो दोनों को मिलके करना पड़ेगा. उनको मालूम था कि खाली देवता कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, बल तो है नहीं उनमें, कमी है एंड और राक्षस कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, बिकॉज वो दे विल बी लाइक बीच में छोड़ देंगे, बिकॉज दे आर लाइक हैव अ तामसिक. तो दोनों का मिला के ही होने वाला है. थिंक अबाउट दैट. So it's like even the negative things in the world, there are some positive qualities in them. And how to do that mixture, they have done it over here. That all these perseverance and industry of an artisan, ready to sweat and toil to get something out, that quality is in that potter community, or people who are like laborers and all that. Very important. We never think about all these things, right? That's what it is. And then the last part was that when they say that there are 4 varnas, and that, somebody is Brahman. And one of the philosophical thing is, when we are born, we are all Shudras only. Okay. Now we have to evolve, increase our sattvic nature, because, like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna Bhagavan told Arjuna about the 3 gunas, and then he told him, you be established in sattva, because sattva guna will take you higher. So so don't take it personal over here and all, injustice हुआ उसी में फंस जाएंगे हम लोग. But there is a reason why this whole story came about. तो बोलते हैं ना कि अगर वो mother would have not felt dejected, she would have not prayed to her Ishta Devta. And the boy, if Dhruva did not get that insult, he would have not gone in search of God. If Arjuna didn't get dejected and felt so depressed, he would have never heard Gita. So all these things are coming over here. There was a reason. That's how we have to see the whole thing. Yeah.
So, Umaji, does that mean that we should accept the things as they are right now?
Absolutely, because it is whatever we get is by on our karmas, right? So right. I know we all complain, so do I, but we have to remind, no, nobody's done this to me. This is my own, and maybe I have to learn something from it. Absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking when you said that. And I said, maybe it's okay. We have to understand, and we have to, reason out and do that the right way. Let's put it, whatever is happening.
The circumstances are for you, for your spiritual growth. That's what they say. Yes. And there are a very great drishtant. I don't know if I have said, but either you have heard it or you will understand what it is. That there was this fellow, in the Christianity, they say you have to carry your own cross, because that's what they made Jesus do. Apna kaam khud karna padta hai, whatever you want to say. And so this guy said, no, my cross is not very good one. I want another cross. So then they Bhagwan or whoever took him in one room where there were hundreds of crosses there. And उनका बीच में कहीं डाल दिया वो cross. बोला अपना cross जाके ढूंढ ले तू. कौन सा तेरे को चाहिए? Not ढूंढ ले, sorry. You pick the cross that you want for yourself, which will help you. So the guy goes, and finally the one he picks is the one that Bhagwan had given him. He said, this is the one. The drishtant is that whatever our circumstances are,
yes,
we have firstly with our own karmas ordered, and that's the right circumstances for us to evolve, but we fight it constantly.
Yes.
Keep saying that no, and including myself, I have to remind myself, no, I cannot blame anybody, either health or situations or family, whatever, friends. it is something for my own and I have ordered it. Bhagwan has given me this thing, and all those things, what you're saying is so true. Yeah.
And we have to think of how we can do or evolve in whatever
Yes,
situation
yes.
Lord
Yeah.
has given us.
Like,
And that's what it is.
See, another way to look at it is one of the Shiv Sutras says, we are all born incomplete
mm-hmm,
and we are all moving towards completeness.
mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter who you are. You may be the biggest, closer to the completeness, but you are one of those same as they are higher or lower.
Because you never know who's going to become higher. We may be going, oh, I'm going fast, and somebody can, take a rocket and go faster than us and reach there before us. So we cannot tell that, oh, that person is so dusht, he will never be able to connect with God. That we know that so many historical accounts, they were like such bad people, and then they become great saints. Valmiki ji, he was a killer. He used to kill people, and then he became the saint.
In case of Ravan, I saw that whole episodes.
Oh, आपने भी
which you
देखा?
described. The interesting part was that Kuber, he was helped by Vishnu, and he used his chakra, which he said that he's not going to use, to take over the Lanka and all the gold. So the grandfather of Ravan wanted to take revenge and throw the Kuber out of Lanka. That was the whole story started.
Yeah, I didn't know the detail, but I knew that he wanted a child who has can do all these things.
He wanted a combination of
both, yes.
Rishi's qualities as well as this one. And
Yeah.
that's why he asked his daughter to go and marry the Rishi.
Right.
And then he pulled Raman after he had learned everything into warfare.
Yep.
So he was teaching in the warfare. So
Yes.
that's why he was the combination of both. And
And-
he only became evil later, once he got too much power.
Yeah, too much power, and the influence of the Rakshas has become more on him, because he was Nana ने उसको सब पट्टी पढ़ाना शुरू कर दिया,
No, but Rakshas, the same thing. The guru of Rakshas is Shukracharya. And guru of Devta is Brihaspati. So now Shukracharya had the quality that he could resurrect the Rakshas. So they will never die.
Right.
And
Sanjeevani.
that is why they went to Vishnu, and then he said, okay, arrange all your energies together, and so the Kali was born. And that's how, she started killing them. And then Rakshas went to Shiv that, we will get wiped out. So that's why Shiv came in to stop her.
Yep.
So all that is like part of the whole game.
Yes. Part of the whole video game of this universe.
There is no good or bad. God is beyond good and bad.
Yes. Just to play. True.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, we have 10 minutes. We can do one more paragraph.
Okay, so therefore, friends, we must be ready while reading this Upanishad to meet with similes and metaphors taken from a potter's life. And to that extent, we may say that Aitreya Upanishad is the scripture of the common man, the Bible of the proletarian, the Quran of the laborer. Godhead attained by a son of the soil is our Aitreya, and the Upanishad is the song of our Hindu culture from a hut in the slum.
Swamiji, really poetic language. He has gotten us completely ready. That this is that. I guess he's trying to tell us that we will be more easy for us to understand, because the language and the kind of examples and all that he has given, we will understand it better. So maybe we can stop here. And then he's also going to explain to us about the theory of creation and all that there is no perfect theory, because, and I don't know if anybody went and inquired about that comet that is going through our solar system. They are so confused about it. They don't know what it is, why it's behaving like this and all that. But what the thing I'm wanted to say, we know only tip of the iceberg of the creation. They may have all these rules and theories. This is how it should behave, and then suddenly something comes and slaps us. No. And even those quantum physics wale, they will tell you that they don't even know how these things behave at the absolutely minute level, how things behave, they can't tell. All those things are there. So anyway, any question or comment before we close? No? Okay. Yeah, Urmilji.
Umaji, so all the 11 those Upanishads, are they translated by Chinmayanandaji? They are all
Not all of them. He has done maybe about 7 or 8, but the Shankaracharya has commented on all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's how it is. And Swamiji has, I think, 7 or 8, but maybe I'll look up how many. If you go to that website where his books are there, that's where you can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are trying to do all the ones that he has done, because I'm more used to his language and things like that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
sure. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Sandhu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashchit Dukha Bhag Bhaved. Hari Om, Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.